Hey book lovers, I'm Elise and welcome back to Literally Elise. So this video is officially my start to 2025. I do still have my best and worst books of 2024. So there are still two 2024 related videos coming. In my head and my planning, it's officially 2025. Happy New Year. So I'm hoping to do things a little bit differently in 2025. 2024 was not the greatest year for me as far as reading goes. I mean, I moved, so that was stressful. Then life got busy, you know, it got really busy. So some changes that I'm looking to make. I don't like wrap-up videos. I mean, I like watching them, I don't like making them, especially if I have books that I don't love. If I did not enjoy a book, I don't want to revisit that. I don't want to rehash it. I don't want to tell you about it. So I'm just not going to be doing those. Instead, what I will be doing is TBR videos, which I previously stopped doing. I felt like it was, I don't know, like 90% of the time I did not read the books on my TBR. But in 2025, I'm looking to be a little bit more organized and purposeful in the things that I read and the videos that I make. I feel like I've been flying by the seat of my pants a lot, and I want to not do that moving forward. What I've done, I actually started creating TBRs for the year. Like, I have all the books I want to read in January, and I have what they're for as well. So like if there's a book club read, whether it's mine or one of my friends' book clubs. Right now I have up through August, and it's not complete. Like August I have 2 books written down. Ooh, did you just see a spoiler for Libranauts? You may have. I feel like I'm planning out my year because there are so many books that I want to read, and I always get stressed out that I'm not reading the books that I want to read. Like I'm not getting to the ones that I most want to read, and then I get caught up reading things that I don't need to read. So I'm hoping planning this way is going to make things a little bit better for me. And I feel like it's more fun to talk about the books that I'm looking forward to reading than it is to talk about the books that I've already read, because I post things on Instagram and on my Goodreads, like book reviews and, you know, the monthly templates showing which books I've read. So you're gonna see what books I read already. Like, I don't need to talk about them again. Plus, I feel like that's the video that I stress the most about because there's kind of a timeline of when it needs to be posted. TBRs as well, but they're not as deep. There's not as much preparation that needs to go into them. It's just, these are the books that I want to read. These are the books I'm excited about. So I will be doing monthly TBR videos. And then in place of wrap-up videos, I'm going to do, I don't know how frequently I'm going to do it, but basically like a recent hits type video. So once I feel like I've read enough books that I either loved, liked, or feel like I could recommend to my audience, then I'll make a video about it. I don't know if I'm gonna wait until there's 5 or 10 or, you know, however many, but I feel like that would be better because that way the video would be a little bit more positive, especially if it's a book that maybe I did not love, but I know that a lot of people might enjoy it, or I feel like I really know who to recommend the book to. Those are the books that I want to talk about, not the books that I don't like. The other thing too, I've kind of started getting into dark romance a little bit. It's kind of a guilty pleasure. Like, I don't necessarily want to tell you every dirty little book that I've been reading. I mean, like I said, you can see it on my Bookstagram, but like if I don't have to talk about it, I don't want to. The other thing that I really want to do this year, I mentioned this in my last video, but I purchased some book annotation tools. I'm gonna try annotating my books this year. Not everything that I read. If it's a book that I feel like is going to be like heavy, deep, or it's just like a chunker, or if it's a favorite and we'll probably be revisiting, I'd like to annotate those. And then I want to be annotating the books that we read for Libranauts. I really want to focus on doing like a deeper dive for myself at least, so I feel more prepared and I feel like I can lead a better discussion for the book club. I feel like that would be really fun. So those are my reading plans. Also too, obviously I want to read more diversely. That's always a goal of mine that I don't often achieve, mostly because a lot of the books that I read are like what's popular, and unfortunately there's some diversity, but there's not as much diversity as there should be in books that really become popular. Anyway, those are my reading plans for 2025. So let's talk about the very first month, January, and the books that I plan to read. So Janvier. Of course, this is my little write-up of all the books that I plan to read. Will I read all of them? Who knows? But I at least have it organized. Also for January, I am participating in my friend Gwen's reading challenge over on her Patreon, Talk Bookish to Me. I think this is her second one that she's done. She did the like Survivor themed reading challenge last summer, and then January is Clue. Unfortunately, signups are already closed, but I'm pretty sure she'll be doing more of these month-long reading challenges in the future. So give her a follow, check out her Patreon. It's my first one, and actually Gwen's Patreon is the first Patreon I've ever joined. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited to dive in head first, have a good time, and read some good books. A lot of the books on this TBR are for that reading challenge. Okay, where do I put this? I don't know. First book I want to talk about is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This is the January book pick for Libranauts, the science fiction book club that I created. And my co-host for the month is going to be Liv of Liv's Library. I'm super excited about this one. It's been a long time coming. Liv also has never read this one, so it'll be a first time read for both of us. Obviously it's a sci-fi, it's a chunker, and it's a man who is lost? Is he lost? I don't know. But he's in space and he has a mission to complete. I can't wait to get to this one. I have the audiobook or Audible, which I've heard is amazing. So I will be doing a tandem read of this one. This next book is for the, I'm going to say what prompt it is. That way if you are participating in Gwen's reading challenge this month, you'll know what I'm talking about. And if you're not, just disregard the prompt. So for the lounge prompt, I forget what the prompt was. It's like read a book with chill vibes, I think. But I'm going to be reading Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. I finally read Legends and Lattes just this past couple months ago. I really enjoyed it. I love the vibe, I love the characters, I love the writing style. So this is technically a prequel to Legends and Lattes, and it's when Viv is still like an active warrior. So she's a battle-hungry orc, but her career with the notorious mercenary company Rackham's Ravens isn't going as planned. Wounded during the hunt for a powerful necromancer, she's packed off against her will to recuperate in the sleepy beach town of Merk, so far from the action that she worries she'll never be able to return to it. I'm very excited to revisit this world, and I think there's a third book coming out later, like at the end of 2025. So that is exciting as well. Okay, the next book is When the Moon Hits Your Eye by John Scalzi. This book is, I forget which month it comes out. I probably should have looked that up. I have an e-arc of this one through NetGalley, and this is for the haul prompt for the reading, for Gwen's reading challenge, which I think was to read a book that's funny or entertaining. I've never read John Scalzi before. I have heard that his books are quite comical. Nope, wrong one. When the Moon Hits Your Eye. This book comes out March 25th from Tor Books. So Starter Villain is a book of his that I have. I've just not read it, but that was the first book that I ever heard of by this author. That's the one that has like a cat on the cover wearing a suit or something. Let's see. So an entirely serious take on distinctly unserious subject. What would really happen if suddenly the moon were replaced by a giant wheel of cheese? One day soon, suddenly and without explanation, the moon as we know it is replaced with an orb of cheese with the exact same mass. Through the length of an entire lunar cycle, the new moon, to a spectacular and possibly final solar eclipse, we follow multiple characters, school kids and scientists, billionaires and workers, preachers and politicians as they confront the strange new world they live in and the absurd, impossible moon that now hangs above. So sci-fi, humor, speculative, those are some of the top category or top genres listed for this book on Goodreads. What is next? Okay, next is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I said that really funny. J.R.R. Tolkien. This was for the study prompt for Gwen's reading challenge, which was to read a classic. I've been saying for about 3 years now that I'm going to read The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. This year I'm actually going to do it. Actually, spoiler alert, January I'm reading The Hobbit, February I'm reading The Fellowship of the Ring, March I'm reading Two Towers, and I'll be finishing in April with The Return of the King. If you don't know what this book is about, you don't deserve to know at this point. Next up is The Shutouts by Gabrielle Korn. Korn? Yeah. The R is not backwards though, so different corn. This book just came out in December 3rd. I believe this is a sci-fi. Yep, it's a science fiction dystopian. I'm reading this one for the library prompt, which was to borrow a book from your local library. I borrowed the audiobook for this book from my library through Libby. I've already checked it out, so I am ready to roll on that one. A brilliant queer dystopian novel from the author of Yours for the Taking, which I have not read. I've not read from this author before. Following a cast of characters on the margins of a strange and exclusive new society. The year is 2041, and it's a dangerous time to be a woman driving across the United States alone. Deadly storms and uncontrollable wildfires are pummeling the country while political tensions are rising. But Kelly's on the road anyway. She desperately needs to get back to her daughter, who she left 7 years ago for a cause that she's no longer sure she believes in. Almost 40 years later, another mother, Ava, and her daughter Brooke are on the run as well from the climate change relief program known as the Inside Project, where they've spent the past 22 years being treated as lab rats. When they encounter a woman from Ava's past on the side of the highway, the three continue on in a journey that will take them to the depths of what remains of humanity out in the wilderness. At the same time, way up north, weather conditions continue to worsen, and a settlement departs in search of greener pastures, leaving behind only two members drawn together by a circumstance and a mystery that they are destined to unravel together, set in the world of Gabrielle Korn's Yours for the Taking. So it's set in the same world, so it's not a sequel per se. I've heard some good things about this one, about this author anyways. Looking forward to it. Next up is, ooh, let's swap hands here. A very gorgeous book, The Games Gods Play by Abigail. I promise that's the only wine that I've had. Like, it's not even empty yet. Abigail Owen. And look at those sprayed edges. Those are gorgeous. So this book is for the billiard room prompt, which is to read a book with like a game or a contest or like trials, something like that. But this is also the January book pick for the Tales of Starlight book club, hosted by Sam of Spark of Sam and April of 'Tis So Sweet. I think it's a bi-monthly fantasy book club. So this is the January book pick. The last book pick that they had, Quicksilver by Callie Hart, I just finished today actually and really enjoyed it. So what is this one about? Let's find out. Well, it says she'll fight for her life for the god of death. Oh, I love, like, there's so many fantasy books now where like death is personified, and I kind of dig it. Oh my lord. Look at it. Is that not the most gorgeous thing? So pretty. Let's see, what is this about? The gods love to play with us mere mortals, and every 100 years we let them. I've never been favored by the gods, far from it, thanks to Zeus. Living as a cursed office clerk for the Order of Thieves, I just keep my head down and hope the capricious beings who rule from Olympus won't notice me. Not an easy feat, given San Francisco is Zeus's patron city, but I make do. I survive until the night I tangle with a different god, the worst god, Hades. Ooh, okay. For the first time ever, the ruthless mercurial king of the underworld has entered the crucible, the deadly contest the gods hold to determine a new ruler to sit on the throne of Olympus. But instead of fighting their own battles, the gods name mortals to compete in their stead. So why in the underworld did Hades choose me, a sarcastic nobody with a curse on her shoulders, as his champion? And why does my heart trip every time he says I'm his? I have chills, you guys. Oh my gosh. I think I've officially entered my fantasy era because, oh my goodness gracious. Okay, next is Upon a Frosted Star by M.A. Kuzniar. This is the same author that did Midnight in Everwood, which I read 2 Christmases ago and I really enjoyed. It was a retelling of The Nutcracker. This is a retelling of Black Swan meets The Great Gatsby. So there is Art Deco, as you can see. I mean, you can tell by the cover. These Art Deco flowers, which I'm obsessed with, by the way. That's one of my favorite eras of art. But the parties always started the same way, when the nights deepened, swallowing daylight by the hour, when winter whispered its frozen song across the land, when the promise of snow could be tasted in the air. The parties were a thing of legend and sometimes an obsession. Yeah, one thing that I remember, first of all, this cover, I'm obsessed. The writing style of this author, so good. It's beautiful, it's lyrical, it's art is what this is. So that is Upon a Frosted Star. This came out about a year ago. Oh, look at it. I want this pattern tattooed all over my body. I wanted to read this book when it first came out last year, but I did not get to it, and then because it's definitely a winter book, I put off reading it until winter again. The next book is The Way Up Is Death by Dan Hanks. This book is an arc. I read from this author a couple years ago a book called Swashbucklers. I don't have my copy. Yeah, I did unhaul it and I regret it very much. Could I go buy another one? Yeah, I sure could. Swashbucklers is like a Stranger Things meets Ghostbusters at Christmas time. Yeah, it was so good and it was mind-blowing. That's what I strive for in books. I look for books that blow my mind. Whether it's just the concept is that amazing, the love story is so epic, the twists are twisty, like whatever the book is doing, it has to blow my mind, and this book did that. So anyway, I started following the author Dan Hanks on Instagram. We've just like chatted here and there over the last couple years. This new book of his, which comes out January 14th, I was super excited, and I voiced to him like in messages and stuff like how excited I was, and he's like, do you want an early copy? And I'm like, yes please. So he sent me one. So this one is not through NetGalley, it's directly from the author, and I'm honored, I'm excited. It's been hard to wait until January to start this book because I wanted to read it like right before it came out, and I wanted to wait till the new year. And so yeah, this book is not specifically for any of the prompts for Gwen's reading challenge. There are like miscellaneous books that you can read that have to get you to certain points to get a reading prompt to read a specific book, if that makes sense. So this is one of the books that I'm planning on reading to like help move me through the challenge. I'm very excited. I say that about literally every book, and if you're sick of that, I'm sorry, but I am who I am. And the cover is just gorgeous too. I mean, look at those colors. So this book is classified as a science fiction horror. Swashbucklers was as well. When a mysterious tower appears in the skies over England, 13 strangers are pulled from their lives to stand before it as a countdown begins. Above the doorway is one word: ascend. As a grieving teacher, a reclusive artist, and a narcissistic celebrity children's author lead the others in trying to understand why they've been chosen and what the tower is, it soon becomes clear the only way out of this for everyone is up. And so begins a race to the top through sinking ships, haunted houses, and other waking nightmares as the group fights to hold onto its humanity while the twisted horror of why they're here grows ever more apparent and death stalks their every move. Next up, in preparation for Onyx Storm, I will be rereading Iron Flame. Hopefully it goes a little bit better for me this time. I was still deep in the hype of Fourth Wing when I read Iron Flame the first time, and compared, I thought my dog was gonna come in here, compared to Fourth Wing, this, hi, good boy, good boy. He just laid down on the bed. I'm not alone. A lot of people were disappointed by Iron Flame. We are all remaining positive and hoping for the best with Onyx Storm. I got so attached to the characters and the storyline and the world in Fourth Wing, like it didn't even matter that I didn't love Iron Flame. Like I still gave it 5 stars. I'm still obsessed with the series. I'm still gonna read every book that comes out. This time I am gonna tandem read it with the graphic audio, which is, it's always fun to do that. Well, I have 2 books officially to talk about and then 1 to kind of unofficially talk about. The next one I have physically, but it's downstairs and I don't feel like getting it right now. But that is the new Alice Feeney, Beautiful Ugly. I'm a little apprehensive about this one because Good Bad Girl. What was that? Like, what was that book? It's the only book of hers that I have flat out loved with every ounce of my being was Rock, Paper, Scissors, and that was the first one of hers that I'd read. But anyway, Beautiful Ugly. Author Grady Green is having the worst best day of his life. Grady calls his wife to share some exciting news as she is driving home. He hears Abby slam on the brakes, get out of her car, then nothing. When he eventually finds her car by the cliff edge, the headlights are on, the driver door is open, her phone is still there, but his wife has disappeared. A year later, Grady is still overcome with grief and desperate to know what happened to Abby. He can't sleep and he can't write, so he travels to a tiny Scottish island to try to get his life back on track. Then he sees the impossible, a woman who looks exactly like his missing wife. Wives think their husbands will change, but they don't. Husbands think their wives won't change, but they do. So that one's pretty intriguing, honestly. I've heard good things. It's not terribly long. We'll see. We'll see how that one goes. The next one is American Rapture by CJ Lead. Oh my gosh, that's terrifying. My camera is like recognizing that that's a face. I haven't read any books by this author. I think she also wrote Mayfly. Oh, it's signed as well. I don't know if you can see that. This was the Aardvark book club edition. So it's got that buttery soft cover. Yes, Mayfly was the other book that she wrote. If I recall, it's kind of sci-fi-ish. I think there's like a disease. Oh yeah, a virus. So a virus is spreading across America, transforming the infected and making them feral with lust, which is kind of like the Violence, right here, by Delilah S. Dawson, except the virus that spreads doesn't fill people with lust, it fills people with violence. Haven't read it yet. So Sophie, a good Catholic girl, must survive the hellscape of the Midwest to try to save her twin brother while the world around her burns. Along the way, she discovers there are far worse fates than dying a virgin. Neil Gaiman's American Gods meets The Last of Us in this epic and sweeping novel about the end of the world as we know it. Obviously, because of the end of the world, the virus spreading across the country, those things are what I'm into. So I had to give this one a go. I love the cover too. It's kind of fun. This next book is not officially on my TBR, but it's a book that I really want to get to. And if I could do so in January, that'd be great because I've heard amazing things, but that is Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. I really like historical fiction. Like pretty much every time I read it, I rate it very highly. I just don't read it very often. So the family's Korean, but they do at some point go to Japan. It gives me nostalgic vibes of Memoirs of a Geisha because I read that book. I don't even know what year. It was a long time ago. Absolutely loved it. And I've been wanting to reread it, but I'm like, I should give Pachinko a try. So in 2017, it was one of the New York Times 10 best books of the year. Knowing myself, I'm going to absolutely devour and love this book. My cheeks are getting so pink. They've probably been pink this entire video. It's because of the wine. Alrighty, those are all the books that I plan to read in the month of January. Let me know in the comments down below what you're most looking forward to reading this month. And if you're participating in Gwen's reading challenge, let me know, and let me know if we're reading any of the same books for some of the book prompts. Well, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. Please do remember to like and subscribe, and until next time, bye.